Hey everybody, Jim Prusak here from the Pain PT, and today I want to talk to you about stiffness in the body. We talk a lot about chronic pain, but what comes along with pain a lot of times is stiffness in our joints. You may feel like we have a stiff back, or stiff knees, or shoulders, or hips, ankles, hands. I'm going to show you today something that flies in the face of everything you know about stiffness in your body. Stiffness is less about your joints and more about your brain. Let's go through some of the research here. So we found that amputees actually report feelings of stiffness in their body. Now, how can this be? An amputee has lost a limb that doesn't exist, but they report feelings of stiffness in that area of their body. We already know people with amputations report phantom limb pain. They feel pain in the area where their leg or arm should be, yet it's not there. So the only way this happens is through the brain. And the same thing with stiffness. I'm going to show you here today that stiffness is more of an output of the brain and nervous system than it is in the tissues. And studying amputees is probably the best example of this. We also have studies that show that people who feel stiffness when they have osteoarthritis or rheumatoid arthritis, it's not related to the joint changes. It's actually related again to the perception from the brain and the nervous system. There's 3 studies I list here that show that. More recently, we're going to go over a study here in 2017, and this was the review article about this study, which states lower back pain may all be in the mind, study suggests. Now, this study looked into the perception of stiffness in people with chronic low back pain. It was done in South Australia, a place near and dear to my heart. Spent a lot of time in Australia working and studying with different physiotherapists. And this study came out with Dr. Lorimer Moseley, who's a pretty famous physiotherapist and also researcher, and some other researchers. They looked at 15 people with chronic low back pain, and these people reported stiffness in their backs. They compared them to 15 healthy people who had no low back pain and no reported stiffness. And what they found here was that when they applied a force to people's backs through a machine, people with chronic back pain and stiffness overestimated how much force is being applied to their backs. They're more protective of their back. And how much they overestimated this force related to how stiff their backs felt. The stiffer their backs felt, the more they overestimated the force. So they suggest that the feelings of stiffness are a protective response, likely to avoid movement. So a protective response, we talk a lot about that here at the Pain PT, some of my other YouTube videos, as that's a manifestation of your sympathetic fight or flight nervous system. Our brains and nervous systems initiate things to overprotect us, to try to stop us from feeling pain or to guard and tense against something that might hurt us or be a threat or a danger. So what we're finding is stiffness is a protective response. It's not an actual physical change or a result from physical damage in the tissues. Really quite interesting. The researchers also go on to say, in theory, people who feel back stiffness should have a stiffer spine than those who do not. But they found this was not the case in reality. Instead, we found that the amount the people protected their back was a better predictor of how stiff their back felt. So this is really important. In chronic low back pain or any chronic pain in the body, the number one thing we need to do, and I talk about this a lot, is learn to relax. We've got to turn off the overprotection system, the fight or flight nervous system that's active in chronic pain. And so this is finding a strong relationship between protection and stiffness. As we know, there's also a relationship between protection and pain. Another interesting thing about this study was they looked at sounds. And what they found were that people who heard creaky door sounds versus gentle whooshing sounds had more stiffness, had a greater feeling of stiffness in their body. So what this again is showing is it's not the joints, it's not the structural tissues. It's impossible that sound can affect how stiff we feel if we're looking just at our knee or our back. It has to come through the brain and through our senses and our interpretation of the meaning of something. So when we're looking at any joint in the body, and I see this all the time as a physical therapist, and especially with chronic pain and chronic stiffness, it's the same thing. It's produced more by the brain and nervous system than it is produced by the local joints. And this is something that many people don't realize and don't understand and know. And so the answer to overprotection, overguarding, and overtensing is learning how to relax the body, learning how to turn off the fight or flight nervous system in ourselves so that things can calm down, our muscles can become more loose, and we can feel less stiff. If you have any questions, reach out to me. I'm here for support, consultation. I'm here to help any and all of you suffering from chronic pain. There's a way out of this. As long as we address the brain and nervous system, there's a way out for people to heal, to recover. Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.